Welcome to the show. We're going to factor some trinomials, and we're going to start with some trinomials where a equals 1, where there's a 1 out in front. These are the easiest trinomials to factor. So you're going to want to do this. You want to look at the last number first, because they always have to multiply to the last number, right? So here we look, and it has to end in positive 6, right? The only way you can multiply to a positive number is a positive times positive, or a negative times negative. So anytime the last symbol is plus, they have to both be the same signs. So that's where you look to the middle symbol, right? Because they always have to multiply to the last number, add up to the middle number. If they multiply to a positive, and I know they're both the same, they have to add up to -5. It can't be two positive numbers. That'd be wild, right? So we know right there it would have to be a negative and a negative, right? Negative times negative is positive, but it would still add up to a negative. So what I like to do is I like to list the factors of 6. So I think 6 could be 1 times 6, or it could be 2 times 3. Those are the only factor pairs that could give us 6 with whole numbers. So thinking which set of those would add up to 5, that would be 2 and 3. And it doesn't matter which one you write first, they're both minus anyway. So -2, -3. Or if you wanted, the 3 could go first, the 2 could go second. The order of the parentheses never matters. There it is. Done. All right, let's take a look at number 2. X squared plus 10x plus 24. Again, it ends in plus. So they have to both be plus, or they have to both be minus. But if they add up to positive 10, that means on this one they would have to both be plus. Again, we're thinking about factors of 24. So 24 could be 1 times 24. It could be 2 times 12. It could be 3 times 8. Heck, it could even be 4 times 6. We need the set that adds up to positive 10. Whoop. 4 and 6. Again, they're both plus, so it doesn't make a difference which one you put first. That would be our final answer on that. That was pretty fun. Pretty fun. But boy, oh boy, once we get to number 3, oh, OMG, this looks just like the first one we did. So similar. But if we look at this one, it ends in minus. The only way you can multiply to a negative number is a positive times a negative. So anytime it ends in minus, it has to be one of each, a plus and a minus. And when it ends in minus, they have to be the middle apart from each other. And yeah, technically we'll get them to add up to -5. But when I'm thinking in my head of factors of 6, if it ends in minus, I'm thinking they minus to the middle. That's what I'm trying to tell my brain. And 6 is tough. 1 and 6, 2 and 3, because 2 and 3 add up to 5, but we on this one need them to be 5 apart from each other. So we're actually going to use 1 and 6. Now it makes a huge difference which one goes with the plus and which one goes with the minus. It could either be +1 and -6, or -1 and +6. We need the set that adds up to -5. That would obviously be the +1 and -6. But here's kind of the simple way my simple brain, I'm not the smartest man in the world, if I know it has to be one of each, I look at the first symbol and I think, well, the bigger number has to be with this one. The bigger number has to go in the minus spot. That's the only way they're going to add up to a negative. So it'd be minus my big number, 6, plus my small number, 1. And again, that one's tough because it looks a lot like the first one, but we use two completely different numbers. Number 4 is pretty similar to number 2, but again, it's going to look completely different for our final answer. We look at the last number, and I see it's minus. I know that means it has to be a positive times a negative. Now, if I look at the first symbol and see it's minus, it's negative, that means my big number is going to have to go with the minus, and the small number is going to go with the plus. And if it ends in minus, I'm thinking in my head, well, they have to minus to 10. They have to have a difference of 10. So now I'm thinking factors of 24. And I'm looking for a set that is 10 apart. So 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. And again, I did this on purpose because these are the tricky ones, because 4 plus 6 is 10, so it's tempting to put that. But we have to have a positive and negative, which means they have to be 10 apart. So we're actually going to use 2 and 12. It says it's going to be minus our big number, that would be the 12, plus the small number, 2. This is our final answer. Now, if you're ever taking a quiz or test and you want to check your answers, if you have some extra time, you could multiply it out and make sure it comes out to x squared minus 10x minus 24. So if you FOIL, x times x is x squared, x times negative 12 is negative 12x, inside 2 times x is positive 2x, and 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. If you combine your like terms, we'd have x squared minus 10x minus 24. OMG, that was the original problem. We're so smart. You did it. We did it. Good job. All right, 5 and 6. You might notice it's not just a 1 out in front on these. Uh-oh. Oh, dear. So if you look at number 5, 3x squared minus 15x plus 12, whenever you're factoring, you should always look for a greatest common factor first. Take that out right away. These are all divisible by 3. So we're going to factor out a 3. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times negative 5x is negative 15x. And 3 times 4 would give us 12. Now the 3 on the outside, we can kind of ignore that until we're ready for our final answer. So if we're looking inside, x squared minus 5x plus 4, it ends in plus. I know that means they have to either both be plus or both minus. So then I look to the first symbol, minus. Okay, they're both minus. X minus, x minus. I'm thinking of factors of 4. So 4 could be 1 times 4, or it could be 2 times 2. We need the set that adds up to 5. Whoop. 1 and 4. 1, 4. Don't forget about the 3 on the outside. Ooh. Pretty tricky. You could do it, no problem. All right, let's look at 6. 2x squared plus 16x plus 30. They're all even, so we can divide them all by 2. So we'll factor out the 2. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times 8x is 16x. And 2 times 15 is 30. It ends in plus. They have to be the same sign. It starts with plus. Ooh, that means they're both plus. 2 times x plus something times x plus something. So we're thinking of factors of 15. 15 could either be 1 times 15, or it could be 3 times 5. We're looking for the set that adds up to 8. Hopefully you can recognize that would be 3 and 5. 3, 5, done. That is your final answer. Now, some kids will see this and they'll say, how could I check something like that? You got a couple options. You could FOIL out the parentheses first and then multiply by 2, and it'll work. That's usually what I do. Otherwise, you could distribute the 2 to one set of parentheses. Not both of them, but let's say you gave it to the first set. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 3 is 6, and then you could multiply this out with the x plus 5, and it should work out to that. But usually, I multiply the parentheses first and then multiply by 2 at the end. But you got some options.